Services with HSBC in conjunction with Beyond Education. So as Antoine says, my name's Craig Thompson. I'm the Emerging Talent Attraction Lead here at HSBC. I've worked in the industry for about 15 years, worked at tons of different companies. This is my third time at HSBC, but effectively I've worked in recruitment for pretty much my whole time since graduating in 2006. So yeah, I will be able to answer any questions you've got related to recruitment, processes, anything related to assessments, etc. And we have a number of graduates also on the call today based out of Sheffield who have kindly given up their time as well because they're really, really keen to be able to speak to you and impart some of their knowledge and experience and hopefully wisdom to help you with any applications that you may choose to make. So without further ado, I think we'll go on and introduce our Sheffield graduates. So if I could perhaps ask, I think Daniel's back on the call. Daniel, are you back on?
Let me double check for you.
I think that's okay. That's all right. That's all right. I think he had a couple of technical issues, didn't
he? Yeah, can you hear me fine?
There he is. There he is. Yeah, go for it, Daniel.
Yeah, hi everyone. Hope you're well. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Daniel here. I joined on the DBS program in July. Background in mechanical engineering, so yeah, moved away from engineering into tech, and the role that I'm in is in cybersecurity. So the role is a cybersecurity DevOps engineer, and yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Alice, if you could just give a brief introduction in terms of university degree and the program that you're on as well, please.
So hi, my name's Alice. I joined on the HSBC Technology Grad Scheme a year ago now, just over a year ago in Sheffield. I studied French and Italian at the University of Oxford, so I came from a completely non-tech background whatsoever. And I'm now working as a development engineer, I guess would be my role in the area of financial crime within the bank. And specifically, I work mostly with databases, SQL, that sort of thing.
Cool. Thank you very much, Alice. Mohammed?
Hi, I'm Hamza. Sorry, I'm having an echo. Yeah.
Sorry, Mohammed, you got a bit of an echo on there. It's because Mohammed's so big time, he has an echo.
Are you muted? Okay. Hi. I'm Hamza. I joined the financial cloud data platform team. I did an electrical and electronic engineering degree in Queen Mary University of London. And in my role, I mainly deal with Google Cloud and BigQuery.
Perfect. That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Mohammed. And last but definitely not least, Sufyan. Sufyan, are you there?
I think he went, but he's being readmitted.
He's joining, he's been readmitted. He'll be with you shortly.
Yes, we have him as a participant. If you're on, please feel free to introduce yourself again.
Can you guys hear me and see me?
Yeah, good.
Okay.
Sorry about that. So yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sufyan Kurum. I did a degree apprenticeship before this, so I was doing a degree apprenticeship at Manchester Metropolitan University, specializing in software engineering. I joined HSBC in July on the DBS program, and I'm currently working in the markets, securities, and services as a full stack engineer under trade and reporting.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. And just to let everyone else on the call know as well, obviously, they're going to be doing most of the speaking today. I'm going to give you about 5 or 10 minutes just to go over some of the real basics at a high level. But obviously, any questions you've got, that's exactly what this session's for, is to field them to our grads that are on the call today as well. Feel free to pop your messages in the pop your questions in the chat as well, and we'll do our best, obviously, answer those as and when during the course of this call as well. So, without further ado, our digital business services teams, effectively, as you've probably already heard, provide the essential support that our colleagues need to serve our customers well. It's made up of quite a wide variety of different teams across tech, global operations, corporate services, procurement, and of course the COO or the Chief Operating Office. All the teams are effectively responsible for delivering our world-class digital banking, as well as all the innovation and solutions that our colleagues rely on to do our jobs well. For example, as a data analyst, for example, you'd work with colleagues across businesses such as sales, IT, or product, and you'd effectively get to work to understand their needs and provide the data that helps them make business decisions or identify new opportunities for the bank as well. Alternatively, as you'll see here, you might want to become a business analyst who effectively helps to bridge the gap between our business needs and the solutions that ultimately meet them. So they work to try and understand the requirements and challenges used to utilize their skills and knowledge to create plans. Other roles, as you can see on the screen there, include the likes of an engineer, where you help to develop, maintain, and optimize our tech, or cybersecurity, as one of the grads has already mentioned, who will be able to definitely go into a lot more detail than this scripted element. Who'll make sure our systems are best in class to keep, obviously, our customers and obviously all of their data safe, which is absolutely paramount. Digital, as you'll probably work out and probably will be surprised at with HSBC, is a core part of our strategy. And for many, many years, we've been developing some of the industry's most advanced and innovative technology. So our aim is actually to be a digital first bank and use the full power of technology and make banking easier and more secure for all customers. We get more than 1 billion logins a year on our personal banking app alone, but it's also about constantly innovating to keep customers' money safe, whether that's keeping cyber attacks at bay or locking out financial crime. Software engineers, data analysts, solution architects, and cyber specialists are taking on some of the world's biggest financial and data challenges every day. So using the latest in blockchain, quantum computing, AI, and ML as well, or machine learning. In fact, we're actually the first bank to explore how quantum cryptography can actually safeguard highly sensitive trading data as well. So this can actually help to protect against even the most powerful cyber threats. And in terms of looking ahead, in terms of the metaverse and Web 3.0, our 2-week hypothetical digital currency pilot, where we built a digital wallet, loaded it with a new electronic currency, invited 200 students in Hong Kong to explore it. You can see the video that we'll be able to share with you afterwards, because I don't think we're going to be able to drop it into here because of time, but it's a really interesting, useful insight in terms of the power of technology and ultimately what's taking place at HSBC at the minute. I'm going to play a very short video now. So hold fire while this plays through. Okay, hopefully everyone was loving the 60s soul music to accompany that video as well. Okay, right, on to emerging talent programs, what you're here to learn more about. What you'll see highlighted there is one of the shared mailboxes. The one in green is the one for digital business services, where you can reach out to and ask more questions about the programs. What I'm going to do is quickly run you through the ladder of how things work. So first years ultimately go through what is known as the Insight programs. These will open on 29th of October. Therefore, first years, they're a 4-day program, and ultimately they're a gateway onto the summer internships. So people that complete these 4-day programs ultimately get a bit of a head start, a heads up in terms of being able to secure summer internships for the following year. So if you're a first year on this particular call, these are the sorts of programs you want to be applying for. So they open on 29th of October, but we'll give you more details on that as we go through. Next phase for those in their penultimate year or midway through university, you're looking at summer internships or industrial placements, and we've got those as well. As I said, we'll provide more information related to those at the end, where you'll be able to go and explore further. But ultimately, the summer internship is a 10-week program, well paid. For DBS, it's a digital business services. It'll be based out of our Sheffield offices. And for the industrial placement, they're between 12 and 13 months, depending on the location. But yeah, they're also paid, but predominantly targeted at sandwich degree students. So those doing a 4-year degree. These two elements here are more focused towards our global banking and markets division, which is based out of London, and unfortunately are both closed right now, and not the focus for this technology related session that we're running, but they are for very recent graduates as an alternate option to get onto an internship, and then ultimately onto what all roads lead to is the graduate program. And for digital business services, we've got 4 particular streams, 3 of which are very tech heavy. So either going down the data route, the engineering route, or the cyber route. But we've also got a business analyst program out of our Sheffield office as well, for those perhaps without as much of a pure tech interest. So I've already touched upon the Insight programs in terms of what they look to do. The Insight program, if you're looking into tech, will be based out of Sheffield, as I've said, and it's a 4-day paid program. The paid element basically means we'll cover all your costs in terms of any necessary overnight stays, travel, etc., expenses. But it's a really great opportunity to get a fully immersive experience in terms of what the culture's like, what the offices are like, and what the people are like. And then, as I said, you get an opportunity to complete an assessment to hopefully get an internship. With regards to the internship programs, these are the 10-week programs. So for digital business services, we've got them in Sheffield or London, although I believe the London ones are actually now filled. So I need to obviously take that off. That literally happened earlier today. So it's Sheffield, where our tech hub is currently based. As I said, you'll get a full 10 weeks where you'll get really involved, and you'll actually be given genuine projects to be able to help you, not just learn, but also try your hand at a multiple range of different things, as you can see where your skills best fit. Application process, I'll touch upon very quickly, because I'm sure the grads will be able to reveal exactly how they passed through each of these sessions, if you ask them nicely. Application form, effectively 10 to 15 minutes is generous. It takes you a lot less than that. You're effectively registering your email address and just getting your details onto the system. Following on from that, that's the big universal test. So the online immersive assessment is a range of different numerical, verbal, and also problem solving type questions. So think sliders, think multiple choice. And this test is used by all lines of business globally. So it's more of a gateway assessment tool that's used. If you pass that assessment, you'll go on to Simulate for the digital business services program, which is effectively a video assessment, for want of another term. So you'll be given some static questions, and you'll be asked to effectively respond with a video response. If you pass that one, you move on to the final assessment, which is a range of relatively short interviews where you'll be asked questions related to your motivations for wanting to join HSBC and digital business services, a skills-based interview, and then also a technical-based interview, which is more so focused towards your commercial awareness. But we can touch upon what exactly we mean by commercial awareness a little bit later during this call. And for some of the digital business services routes, you will also be asked to complete a codility assessment, which is a very basic coding test. But that's obviously, as I said, for very specific roles. Just before we come back onto the grads, if you are ready to apply, we don't thrust you to go, right, just drop your application in. We've got a number of different tools that we recommend you use. The Skills Matcher tool, which I will share details of either during the call or in the follow-up, as we did with the Birmingham event on Tuesday. This is a tool that's new this year, only takes about 90 seconds, and ultimately you fill in 11 questions and it'll ultimately churn out where we think your current skill set best fits for you. So it doesn't take very long at all. A virtual work experience, they came to real prominence during the COVID period where internships were not readily available. You can complete these for free and complete as many of them as you want. And let me tell you, they're a brilliant tool for getting you prepped for the simulate or the job simulation stage of our assessment. In actual fact, we found that those that complete these properly, not just skip through them, actually are twice as likely to be successful when it comes to the actual assessment. So definitely worthwhile taking a look at those. The practice zone, this is where you can practice freely, you can mess up, you can screw up, but you can basically practice all the different online assessments that we have, and they are relative to the actual real tests. So it's a good opportunity for you to get familiar with the styles of questions more than anything. And then the Candidate Hub is effectively a tool that you'll gain access to once you have registered or applied for one of the roles. And there's a whole raft of different ideas, hints, tips from recruiters and graduates alike that's available for you to utilize as much as you choose to, basically. I think we'll stop there rather than overkill of slides. And obviously you want to hear more from the grads themselves. I know that Beyond Education had a few pre-prepared questions that they wanted to put out to some of our grads that you've kindly submitted. So perhaps I could pass back over to Antoine or Demi to be able to perhaps field a few of those questions to our grads.
Antoine, you might want to unmute. Antoine?
I didn't realize I'm on mute. What I was saying was speaking of the fact that you referred to qualities and skills that would be great for HSBC, or what skill sets you have that will fit you best into any of HSBC's current vacancies. And you spoke about introduction to opportunities and pathways. I'd like to ask, what steps would one have to take to get a grad role, including the external things they should be doing? Craig, if you would like to.
Yeah, I'm not going to answer it. I'm not nearly as interested as the four grads on here. So perhaps I can pick on Daniel. Yeah, I know what we want to see. Of course I do. But perhaps I can go to Daniel. So what transferable skills do you think you've brought from the outside world? So think student societies, think sports, whatever it might be, part-time work. What sort of skills have you brought that have really helped you in your role to get your role?
Yes, a good question. I'd say the main thing is show that you want to learn. As I said, so I moved industry from mechanical engineering into tech. For me, tech's all about, problem solving, working things out, learning and whatnot. And if you can show that, either you're doing some sort of boot camp, you're doing some sort of external learning, you're looking a lot into HSBC, what sort of, industries that they're in, what sort of technologies they're using. Things as such as simple as, like an AI when you're on the HSBC mobile banking app, when you sort of do a chat support, you get hit with an AI bot. So, speaking about things like that, show you've got a genuine interest in both the technologies, but how they actually use the HSBC. I say another thing is be proactive, speak to different people, speak to people within your team, speak to people, graduates in the year, sort of cohorts above. Just do that networking. I think from networking, if you don't particularly like the role that you're in, you can find out from other sort of, graduates, other senior people, learn about what they do, and then maybe even move within the company. I think the main thing that I've realized is a lot of the people who are at HSBC, they've started on a grad program and they've, there for 10, 15 years. I think nowadays it's quite common to like job hop, but I think generally in HSBC, there's people who are there sort of long term, and I think that's quite a positive. That's sort of the company that you want to work for.
Fantastic. I noticed that you mentioned you went from one technical background, obviously, to another. Do you think it's a requirement to have an existing tech background to apply for like these sorts of programs and get these grad roles in this sector?
No, so for these DBS grad programs, I believe they're open to all degrees. So as long as you can showcase transferable skills that you've demonstrated, whether it be in your project work, whether it be in societies whether you like maybe organize regular football games. I guess whether if you can demonstrate that you can demonstrate the ability to problem solve and learn. If you can present that in the assessment centers, in your job, in the questions, you'll do quite well.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, Daniel. Just to go through some of the pressing questions in the chat, actually. Craig, do you accept PhD students and graduates into your grad roles?
I was literally just reading that one, Antoine. I was just about to respond to it. I was just busy getting all of our hyperlinks out for Practice Zone and Forage, etc. Yeah, of course we do. But it's not a minimum requirement. So for graduate roles, even though the minimum requirement is an undergraduate degree, you don't get any extra points for having a master's, an MBA, a PhD, etc. I mean, the way in which it can help you is obviously the additional experiences and perhaps additional answers it could theoretically give you in terms of responding to questions, an interview, etc. But you don't get any additional points for having completed it. But for PhD students in particular, yeah, of course we're able to apply, but we just ask you to tread with caution, because obviously you would have done a fair amount of time academically. So it is also worthwhile looking at our careers website for experienced hire roles. So for more junior roles that aren't on a graduate program, because you might be considering more associate level roles rather than analyst roles, which is where the graduate positions are at. So that's just something worth considering if you are well, you are a doctor.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
that's fantastic as well. Just a quick question as well that I want to throw out to the house would be in terms of currently what you're doing right now, what skills or experiences, because I know Daniel mentioned about being very proactive. What kind of skills or experiences or things did you guys do pre-application season to kind of show yourself as a potential candidate that would really fit in into HSBC? So anyone in the house can take that question on.
Yeah, I'll take that one on. I think one of the things that you need to be passionate about is technology if you're applying for the DBS program. And one of the things that you will get assessed on is how up to date you are with technology. So knowing what is going on in tech field, what technologies are emerging, what technologies can the bank use to improve the process, etc., will make you the perfect candidate. So living and breathing technology and understanding what's happening around the world, because HSBC is a global bank. So we're not just talking about technologies just local to UK. We should be talking about technologies throughout the globe. So yeah, being really passionate about technology will really give you that edge.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Daniel. I want to make sure that the questions in the chat are treated as a priority. I believe Juliana was asking, she would like to know how a person with a non-tech background can get into DBS with HSBC, and do these people get extra training in the role, both for graduates and their programs?
Alice, I think that one's for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I can probably answer this because I came in with absolutely no tech background, no coding or anything like that. And there wasn't any extra specifically structured training within the graduate scheme. There was an initial period of training that everyone does when you join, and then you go into your specific roles. But what I have found is within your role, the team you work in are very understanding of the background that you come from and the skills that you have and the ones that you need to develop. So they have been very, very kind with me, and very, very understanding, and everyone has been around like willing to help and has given me time to do some self-learning, and then maybe give a small task at first to implement what you've learned and then slowly grow and build that. And I would say if you're someone who, like me, I'm someone who learns by doing actively rather than just learning separately, then implementing, which is why I applied for this grad scheme, was because I would be able to learn the tech on the job. And that's, if you like that, this is a great grad scheme for that.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Anna. But I'd like to just chip in. I started off, I'm an economics student myself. I'm second year. However, I've always had an interest in technological aspects like AI and data science. So for me, this was back when I couldn't even work. I was very young. I would take, either any courses I could find online, that would give me a little bit of an advantage or give me some knowledge on the industry, and complete those, and then boot camps as well. A couple projects that I'd put down. And you can always, and the beauty of learning at your own pace is that there's really no pressure. You can get it done at your own time. That's just one recommendation I'd have for anyone that doesn't feel confident about tech itself, because it's a very broad industry. Just really take a try, and hopefully Craig agrees with that recommendation. But yes, moving on to another question.
Just
Please feel
to,
free to
yeah,
drop more questions in the chat.
yeah, to drop more
Demi,
questions
did you
in the
want to
chat,
say
and
something?
just to, because I see, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great. Just because Craig dropped in Coursera on the chat as well, are there any other sites that you guys use to kind of like upskill in tech, any newsletters, any websites? It would be really nice for our audience to actually know of those as well.
If you're just someone who's wanting to really start out learning to code for the first time, then there's Codecademy. That's what I used when I wanted to learn just the basics of coding. They have a lot of different coding languages on there. Some courses are free, some are paid. But yeah, if you wanted to get some real kind of actual learning the basics of coding and get some actual practice coding, that's a great website. I can put the name in the chat. in case.
One place I get
Fantastic.
my news from for tech is TLDR. So TLDR, I've signed up to their newsletter, and they just like give you the newest tech information, and they send it to your email. So it's something I read every morning, which really keeps me up to date with the industry. So yeah, that's a really good one if you want to get signed up to that.
Fantastic. One question from Andrea. If I
Good,
completed a
good.
postgraduate, sorry, sorry, if I completed a postgraduate degree but graduated from undergraduate studies several years ago, can that person still be considered a graduate?
Literally just responded to Andrea. Yes, you can,
Oh,
Andrea. Just be mindful that these are for junior roles. So that's the only thing I would say. Like, we have people come and ask, "Oh, I graduated 5 years ago. Am I still gonna be eligible?" I mean, theoretically, yes, because you're a graduate. Obviously, we wouldn't be able to stop you from applying. You got the minimum requirements, but you just need to be mindful that these are junior level roles, and they're development programs. So those that may have graduated 4 or 5 years ago may have had other experiences that may render the program or the early junior development program a little bit too junior for them with the experience they've got. So you have to factor that into the equation when applying. So that's why typically it tends to be those that are recent graduates or only a year beyond graduation, because they're more junior development programs. But yeah, of course, you're welcome to join. Just be mindful of the expectation.
fantastic. Another question from Damon. Is there a reason that the off-cycle internships for global markets are closed now, or did you not hear properly?
Yeah, there's always a reason why roles close early. It's because they're incredibly popular. So volume's been through the roof. Off-cycle internship programs have closed already because we are far and beyond volume capacity. So that's the reason why they're closed. If we keep them open and we have more and more candidates go into a pipeline, that's a lot more rejection and disappointment, if I'm being completely blunt with you. That's why it's so important, and you guys are in the right position by subscribing and being part of Beyond Education. They will keep you abreast of everything that's coming through. So when they say apply as soon as you can or as early as possible, they're not joking around. They mean it. Like, roles will close on a rolling basis. Employers will do that. Just because it's got a close date of 3rd of November, that's at the very latest point. So most grad employers will use a rolling basis to open and close their roles. So really, really important to keep right on the button for any openings that you see, and make sure that obviously that you're applying good time, because as I said, yeah, sometimes we have to close the roles because they're overpopulated.
And just to further express how the volume of these roles, if I'm not mistaken, HSBC opened their grad roles on the 27th of September. If I'm not mistaken, is that right, Craig?
No, it's 10 days before that, 17th of September.
Okay. Yeah, so less than 3 weeks in,
Yeah.
and their London vacancies are closed. But once again, there's Sheffield and Birmingham, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's
as
correct.
options?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the best roles are
fantastic.
still available in Birmingham and Sheffield. So yeah, well, they'll be
Brilliant.
open until the 3rd of November.
Fantastic. Obviously, try and get a hold of those as soon as possible. In regards to qualities and skills for success, I'm not sure if you could answer this, Craig, but what exactly makes an attractive candidate?
I was trying to do some of the questions in the background. These are things that the grads can answer quite comfortably.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you've all been
Yeah, yeah.
employed, so yeah. What made you so attractive to us, guys? What made you nail the role? What did you do during your assessments that really helped you stand out? Because obviously you all absolutely smashed the assessment. So feel free to let the candidates know on here, because obviously they want to really tap into your brains to find out what you did that was so good.
Sure, I'll take that one. So I guess what makes a candidate like more appealing to whoever's examining you, I guess you could call it, is just, you could say, if you don't have a technical background, showing the willingness to learn. So for example, showing that you read about the tech industry, showing that you're able to summarize some ideas in a easy to understand way. If you can explain something, then it really shows your expertise on it. And like, if you're more of a technical person, being able to take those technical concepts and maybe make some examples you can think of in like your university life. If you have any actual work experience, always think of examples you can bring up. When I applied, I did the preparation zone stuff, and I was always constantly thinking, where can I get an example from personal life, university, work life, and just keeping those examples and knowing the best place to bring them up makes a very appealing candidate, in my opinion.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Howard. This seeing as someone's asked a question in the chat regarding your specific roles, there's actually a question we have here that came through earlier. What are the main challenges you experience within your field? And please, this is for all the graduates, just give a brief overview of what fields are in within DBS. Maybe we can start with Alice, for example.
Sorry, so you mean what roles are available?
Yeah, basically what main challenges do you face within your field?
Okay. Yeah.
And just remind people what you do.
Yeah. Yeah, so I work, I guess, in a sort of development engineering sort of role within financial crime. And I would say that the biggest challenge that I face, a lot of it is when you join a company, especially from a non-tech background, you have to learn all the tech, but you also have to learn all the company specific tech and the company specific terminology and the company specific structures. And I think I've definitely found that sometimes that can be quite overwhelming, sort of trying to balance learning both and sort of coming to terms and understanding both, and something that I've had to get quite used to, and that I think is a piece of advice I'd give to everyone. It's really, really important, is to get comfortable asking questions and saying that you don't understand something.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be so many times where you will not know what something means. It could be something as simple as it's not you not knowing a technology thing. It could just be an acronym that is specific to, in this case, HSBC, and there's no way you'd know before joining the bank. And you have to get comfortable just saying, I don't understand. Could you explain that to me? And I find generally here the culture is very much that people want you to ask those questions. And multiple times I've raised a point and said, I don't understand this. What does this mean? And then I thought I was the only one. And it turns out lots of other people in this call or whatever were also having the same sort of questions. So yeah, so I'd say that's a challenge, that sort of getting comfortable with not knowing stuff and asking for help. Yeah.
Thank you. Daniel, if you'd like to also give an explanation of the main challenges you face within your field.
Yeah, so just to reiterate what Alice has said, actually, in terms of, because you're sort of learning a complete, this is coming from someone not in a sort of cyber or say coding development background, coming from a different background and going into HSBC, working as a DevOps engineer, you are literally getting so much exposure to all these different technologies, these ways of working, all these different softwares, and it will take a bit of time. I think that's natural. For the first, it's been a month. It's been a month now. I think only I'm just now sort of starting to get the hang of things now. So I think, yeah, take your time. Don't be afraid to sort of ask questions, even if they sort of explained it to you. Ask the question again if you really don't understand. Make notes as well. So what I sort of did was, when I started, I remember sort of my line manager giving me an overview. It was like a half an hour call and an hour call that we had. And sometimes it goes in through one ear and out the other. And then what I said to my manager was, "Oh, could you give me a 60-second overview of what I actually do, what I will be doing, and what the technologies I was using?" And then I just make notes on that. And every time we'd have sort of these meetings, these one-to-ones, chats with other members of the team, I'll literally be there making notes. So whenever you do have that downtime, you can start reading those notes, and then things will click. Another big thing is, because you're sort of isolated within your specific team, I think it's important to actually figure out what other teams do as well. So just go ahead and network, speak to different people, speak to graduates, speak to degree apprentices, speak to senior people. You're going to pick up a lot of commercial awareness that way, and I think that's going to really help in your career.
Thanks, Daniel. And Antoine, can I just cut to the chase on something here as well? Because I get the feeling it's a elephant in the room, as the phrase goes. Basically, where these roles are based in Sheffield, obviously we've got asked a question here in terms of, if you're successful and the role in Sheffield and Birmingham, do you have to move? Yeah, you do. So ultimately, it's one of those things that perhaps we want to highlight a little bit more. So obviously, each of you guys would have had to move to be in Sheffield as well. Can you talk us through, and perhaps we can come on to Sufyan and Mohammed, because Alice and Daniel's just spoken, just in terms of the thought processes that you went through, bearing in mind having to, I'm assuming having to move to a new city or new town. Like, what thought processes went through your head?
No, I mean, that's the compromise you do, because working for a global bank like HSBC, you have to take that compromise. So I'm originally from Manchester, so it's not that far, but I still had to move to Sheffield because I wanted to make the contacts, make that network in the first 3-4 months. So that's what I did. I moved here for 6 months. Well, the good thing about it is that it will definitely be worth it. Obviously, weigh your options, but I'd definitely say we got a lot of graduates. They've moved from Essex, Kent, every part of the country. So there's a reason why they're doing it, and because it's HSBC. Working for HSBC gives you that exposure, not just to locally, to global network, really. So I definitely say it's been a new challenge for me to move cities, but it's definitely worth it, and definitely something that I'd recommend. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you.
I guess I also had to move to Sheffield. I'm originally from London, and I guess I can talk more to those who didn't like live in dorms at university, because I guess it's a massive change living from going with parents to suddenly having to move to Sheffield, living alone, having to do everything on your own. So I guess the main thing is trying to establish, you could say, a support network or people that you know in Sheffield, like some if you join this, you'll most likely know a lot of Sheffield people. Your team will be based in Sheffield, so you'll know a lot of people that are in Sheffield. So just, you can ask them for, like, where do I get this? What's the best way to do like finding a place, stuff like that. And yeah, it's just willing to take that big jump if I guess if you have the dedication to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, if nobody else, any other graduates would like to comment, we have 2 questions I think we need to address here. Yeah, for the graduates who did not come from a tech background, how long did it take you to prepare for your tech role at HSBC, and how did you overcome imposter syndrome?
I'll answer the second part of the question regarding imposter syndrome. I came from a tech background, so I wouldn't be able to answer that. But imposter syndrome is not something that goes away if you have been to in the job for 2 years, 6 months, a year, it's something that stays with you throughout your job. So I know my manager still faces imposter syndrome sometimes. It's everyone at every level. So it's something that stays with you and something that you have to fight constantly. You will feel sometimes that some people might have more experience than you when they come to the graduate program, which they do. In our cohort, for example, but that doesn't mean that you are any less. There's a reason why HSBC has picked you. There's a reason why they've seen that talent in you and they selected you. So it's about believing in yourself and making sure you're keeping on top of all the things. For example, keeping on top of tech news, to keeping on top of technologies, the bank itself. So I think that'll make sure that it'll alleviate your imposter syndrome. So yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much. And for for example, Alice, I think this would be great for you. How long did it take you to prepare for your tech role despite not coming from a tech background?
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe I don't know how helpful this answer will be. I did very little preparation, if I'm honest, in terms of actually learning tech before I started. I did the basics, that website I mentioned earlier, Code Academy. I did a little bit of the basics of the foundations of what is coding, how does it work, the very basic concepts. And then I learned pretty much everything that I now know on the job and in that training. And I think, so I didn't, yeah, how long did it take? It really didn't take that long at all. I just came in and I learned on the job pretty much. And sort of speaking to that, I guess that imposter syndrome, especially from someone who doesn't come from a tech background and feeling like, what am I doing here? You're surrounded by people who know all this tech stuff. How can you possibly cope? It's something that actually really helped was a few months, maybe about 6 months into my role. I had people who'd been at the bank for much longer and working in tech for much longer who were asking me questions. And I sort of had a moment where I thought, oh, but isn't that an easy question? And I realized, no, this is just a part of tech that I now know a lot about that they don't know about, because there's so many different areas of tech. So anyone who knows a lot about tech doesn't know everything about every area of tech. So you may feel like you don't know anything, but you will have one area that you will develop a lot of knowledge in, and then someone else might not know that. So no one can ever know everything.
That's
Fantastic.
really,
That
really
makes a
good.
lot of sense.
Yeah. And I'm just going to go back to one of the questions that was pre-submitted into the chat before. So we've talked a lot about the technical skills, the coding, but what kind of soft skills would you say made you an attractive candidate to HSBC? And if you know of any, what kind of skills would you say to our attendees here to kind of focus on during the application process?
Okay, I guess I can take that one. So in terms of soft skills, it really is, no matter what your background is, it's about how you present yourself. So, for example, if you talk about a topic, you have to talk with confidence and with the sense that you know what you're talking about. Because when, for example, the interviews that you'll do if you get to the virtual, to the assessment center days, these are people with lots of experience. They know their stuff. And I guess something that comes with experience is that you can tell if someone is interested in a topic, you can tell if someone knows a topic. So all I'd say is become confident in trying to break down bigger problems into smaller ones. Talk with a lot of what do you call it, confidence, talk with a lot of reassurance in yourself. If for example, if you know
In
an
a
answer to
meeting, yeah.
something, but
Mhm.
sometimes the nerves can make it seem like you have a weak understanding. So the way I did it is I went to the practice zone, that the HSBC website, the practice zone, and I basically tried the day before I went through all of that. I spent hours doing it, but I feel like it really helped me get confidence in my own answers. So that's definitely something I'd say is the confidence in your own answers is a soft skill.
You know what the best thing there is as well, Mohammed? I did not even prompt you to say that, did I?
No.
Well, you're going to say no, obviously, but I genuinely didn't. So no, that's great and great advice, because that's what we give to a lot of people. One thing I do want to just bring up, because you reference skills, Antoine and Demi. I just want to show a very quick slide, which will hopefully help people as well. So if you can just bear with me.
Of course.
Okay, so this is just our approach to skills. So this is new for this year. So we used to recruit via a strengths method, but basically now we go via a skills approach. So we just want to make it clear there are two different skill types, okay? So there's the technical skills, which are effectively your practical abilities and the knowledge you need to do the role you're in. So skills such as macroeconomic analysis, programming, or financial modeling. These skills change and shift depending on business and industry changes or from role to role. So as Alice was alluding to, they are effectively like go along with this analogy, they're like the leaves on a tree. So they're constantly growing, will need to be developed and refreshed throughout your career. Whereas the behavioral skills and the cognitive skills that enable you to thrive in a role, these skills such as drive and ability to collaborate or think analytically, these are also needed throughout a career, but they're more like the roots on a tree, and they give you the power to adapt and keep acquiring new technical skills. So these skills also have to be nurtured, as just like with a tree, if the roots, so your behavioral and cognitive skills, are damaged, the leaves won't grow. So keeping your behavioral and cognitive skills in check is absolutely integral to being able to develop your technical skills. So that's why when you apply to us, we'll be looking at the behavioral and the cognitive skills you can bring rather than any pre-existing technical skills or direct experience of finance, banking, or tech. So just to put it in context, over 60% of our grads come from non-finance backgrounds. And that's because we can and will, as the grads have already alluded to, teach you the technical skills that you need. So the ability to be versatile and a desire to adapt and keep learning interests us far more than obviously coming fully armed with certain technical skills. We're looking for that diversity of thought, which is why we look to take on any degree type, because there is the argument and strong empirical evidence to support it that if you just recruit the same type of people, you're going to pretty much come up with the same sorts of solutions to problems. And in a constantly evolving dynamic world, we need to be ahead of the game, especially with the onset of new technologies and emerging technologies. That's why we go down that route. So apologies for interrupting there, but I just wanted to make sure that that was understood.
Absolutely. Well, even with the next bit I'm trying to talk about as well, I think a lot of what we've spoken about today is skills, and something I just really want to mention is the fact that, like, what I've heard from everyone is to maximize every opportunity that you have and every resource available to you. So because of our time, we're going to quickly move on to tech trends and work culture, which Craig has nicely touched on as well. I think the next question for me would be how is HSBC integrating machine learning and AI into its services? And I think because this is tech, how are you guys kind of incorporating that into, like, the work that you do as well?
I'll take this one. Machine learning AI. So yes, we are quite machine learning and AI focused, especially with quantum as well. That's really big in the London office as well. AI wise, we are looking to explore how we can use AI to clean our data we use, better manage our data. As we are a bank, we're not working as a startup probably would, where we're just integrating a LLM straight with our information source, because that's obviously not possible. We work with quite a lot of sensitive data. However, we are implementing machine learning and AI to make our processes better when it comes to managing data, or whether it be working with refined data modeling, etc. So yes, we are integrating it. We're also integrating Microsoft Copilot for our software engineers, which helps us basically have better coding experiences. So yeah, this is basically a small summary of how we're integrating AI and machine learning, but there's more to come. There's a lot of AI events, Gen AI events that are going to be coming soon, which obviously we are new to as well, so we'll definitely love to learn about.
Yeah, that's really, really, really good.
Okay, what's Hayden going for?
Sorry, that's weird. Someone's accidentally done something. Yeah, that's really, really good. Thank you for that. I think my next question would then be to you guys, kind of what's like your day-to-day life at HSBC? It's all well and good to talk about applications and skills, but what is it actually like going into work day to day and actually working at HSBC?
And start off maybe.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I know. So the very basic outline is most days I will start off in the morning with quite a few online meetings because I work in a very international team. So I work primarily with people in India and China, also some here in the UK and in Poland. And so we have a lot of our meetings at the best time for the different time zones, which tends to be the morning. Start off with a couple of the larger team meetings. And then a lot of the time you are given a lot of freedom to get on with your work, but there's also constant collaboration. So there will be other people I'll work with in these different countries who will say, oh, we have this problem we're trying to solve together. Let's jump on a call and try and talk this through and work this out. So you have that mix of sort of independent learning, but also a lot of collaboration with people from all over the globe.
And Alice, just on that as well,
Yeah.
and I'd be interested to see if the other grads could flavour it as well. Do you not think when you join an organisation such as HSBC with 200,000 people globally, do you not find that the world seems a much smaller place or a lot more connected place because the fact that you're just speaking with them like regularly, like it's the most normal thing in the world? That takes a bit of getting used to, right, from your day-to-day like life at uni, right?
Yeah, no, it is. It's something that it's definitely one of the things I also actually valued in HSBC when I was applying, because I come from a sort of languages study background. That's something that kind of intercultural, international communication is something that I really value. And yeah, it is something that you don't necessarily always think about, but it is because they're just your work colleagues who you're just chatting with on a daily basis. But really, it does feel a lot smaller, and it's also a really good learning opportunity in and of itself, because there have been moments where you have a miscommunication with someone and then you realize, oh, it's because of this cultural difference. And so you're learning about these different countries and different peoples as well, and you're improving your communication skills. So
Good. That's really good. Another question I want to drop into the chat very quickly are what are the pathways for progression career-wise within the tech industry and at HSBC as well?
To be fair, I think the guys have already covered that quite considerably, and obviously we've also got a degree apprentice on here as well, which I think some of your attendees may have gone beyond, obviously, whilst being a current undergrad. But I'd say degree apprentices are probably the most under researched thing on the market. I think they're a fantastic mechanism to get into an organization, and they probably will grow in prominence and popularity over the next 2 or 3 years, I would say. But there's lots of different avenues that you can take at HSBC. It doesn't have to be through a internship or a graduate program. They have lots of entry-level roles, so you can come into HSBC in lots of different ways. So don't think that this is the only avenue into the world of work. There's multiple ways. We've all got weird and wonderful ways of getting into our careers. Explore, research. Like the more you do that, weirdly enough, the more your motivation is driven, and it will make your application that much easier. And I don't know if any of the grads want to talk about how, like, any of that. Well, apart from Alice seems to have done no prep, nailed the tests, and no prep for the interviews and got them. So I'm not going to ask Alice because she's on a different planet, clearly. But with regards to the preparation for HSBC, bearing in mind, like everyone, I know back in the day everyone applied for a lot of roles, but I know now from the research we get and obviously the insights we get, we're seeing 40, 50, 60 applications per candidate plus. So it's very hard to really put so much focus into an application. So is there any advice that you guys would give as grads, now you're in more of a comfortable place and not having to scramble to apply for roles? Is there any advice you would give to any of the attendees on this call for how to really hone down that sort of larger list? And will they be more successful rather than scattergun approach, which I know for a fact from a recruitment point of view does not work very well?
Yeah.
Is there any advice you would give to really help them hone it down?
Yeah. For that one, I'd say you can either do, let's say 10, 15 applications really well, or you can do 100 applications rushed. I definitely do the former. Take your time with applications. Do things such as, I believe there's a work experience. I think Farage work experience. You definitely want to do that. I know that it was touched upon right at the start, but at the end they give you sort of like a I guess like some sort of certificate that you can actually copy the text and put it into your CV. So it's definitely a talking point in your sort of assessments and your interviews, and it actually showcases that you're interested, you're curious about that particular company. Because if, let's say, there's 50,000 applicants globally, what's going to make you stand out? If you're going that extra mile, doing this bit of work experience, doing your own research, getting all your preparation in, having sort of answers for both academic as well as sort of extracurricular and previous work experience. If you can demonstrate that, if you've done your research in all the different sort of industries that HSBC work with, what technologies they're working with, and if you can demonstrate that, you're in a good position to sort of succeed. I think, for example, in our cohort, there was 45 graduates that had joined. And just as a teaser, there's 5 weeks of training and almost everything is paid for. So just as a teaser, HSBC do really look after you. So we had like a £30 sort of allowance. So that might change, hopefully not. But yeah, I think a company such as HSBC, they're putting a lot of investment, a lot of funding into our development. They're not taking shortcuts when it comes to putting us in a nice hotel, getting these external sort of training providers in, and really they want you to get off to a good start. And I think having that there, having a company that's going to provide that is you're going to be at a good company. Just to compare, for example, my previous graduate job, there was only 5 graduates that joined. HSBC, there was 45, and they just hired 25 degree apprentices last week. So yeah, they are really investing. And if there's one company being a bit biased, apply for HSBC.
Yes, and I think in that answer in itself, you just kind of answered someone's question in the chat, which was about kind of what makes employees stay at HSBC for a really long time. And I think being able to, as a company, to invest in your people, invest in their career development and their progress, it's kind of something that would kind of be a stake in making employees actually want to stay at HSBC longer. We've finally come to the end of today's session. I want to say a massive thank you to the HSBC team. And I hope that you guys have found this session as insightful as we have. If you guys have any final advice, you want to drop that quickly for the attendees as well for application season?
I think Habib's got a question. Is that raised hand or?
1 second, I can't really see.
Could be.
Do you have
can
a
send
question,
there.
Habib? No. No.
Just a piece of advice I'd say from myself is, yeah, fill in sort of the diversity questionnaires when you do get to apply. I think that's really important. Making sure HSBC are hitting their targets. For me personally, probably like to see more sort of diversity in the senior sort of roles, but I am, just from a visual indicator, I'm seeing a lot more diversity in degree apprenticeships and graduates. So I think, yeah, HSBC are really sort of, pushing that agenda, I think.
Thank you so much for that.
Hello, can anyone hear me now? Sorry to interrupt. I don't know what's on my mic. I did have a
Yes.
question. Yes, I put it in the chat already, but I guess it was missed. It was basically to Craig. I was just curious to know, within this tech graduate program, are there any cybersecurity related roles that one could get to do? If I wanted to grow my career in cybersecurity within HSBC and I applied to this graduate program, would I get something there, or is it just purely coding? Because that's what we've been talking about a lot within this tech program. That was my question, essentially.
Yeah, we've got someone on the cyber program here. Do you want to take it away?
Yeah, sorry, could you repeat that last bit of the question, please?
So the question essentially was that if I applied for this program, but I was interested in cybersecurity within HSBC, is there something for me beyond just coding?
So within this particular program, you've got 4 different tracks, right? You've got the engineering one, you've got cyber, you've got data, and you've got business analytics. Although I'm in the sort of cybersecurity sort of function, it comes under engineering because it's a cybersecurity DevOps engineer. I think the good thing is when you sort of apply to this scheme, once you get in, then you have a choice. How it works is you tend to rank the different paths. So if you really wanted to do cyber, you put cyber as number one, and then you put engineering and say data and whatnot. And there's also like a comment box, which a lot of people didn't actually fill out. So this is actually when you sort of when you get the role and whatnot, and you sort of choose your sort of paths. But if you're really keen on a particular path, don't be afraid to mention, why you want to do it, why you want to get into that particular field, and show why you're a good fit. I'd say if you don't like a particular role, I think if you really don't like it, you'd probably have to nag and get it, moved over. But I think how it works is for the first 9 months or so, they expected you to stay in that particular role. Because I think after a month, it's quite difficult to make a decision of how good or bad that particular role is. So I think they're letting you stay in that role, see how you go, and then if you don't really like it, then there's a chance to move.
Yeah,
All
and
right,
Habib,
thank you very much.
I've just
Thank you
tagged you
so
in there.
much. Yeah.
Just very quickly, sorry, Demi. Habib, I've just tagged you in on the chat so you can see some of the information above. I'm not sure if you've seen that. Sufyan's just thumbsed it. But that's got an overview so you can see the full extent of the cyber role, and they're available on the website right now if you want to get more information. And there's also a number of associated events if you wanted to come and actually meet people separate to virtual as well. So have a look on the events tracker and you'll be able to see some other opportunities like this one to be able to speak in a bit more depth.
Thank you so much, Craig, for that as well. We've come to the end of today's session. Thank you so much to the team for coming. We will be sending you guys a feedback form for you guys to fill for us as well. And I've put into the chat a couple of times as well, and I'm going to put in right now the link to the roles available at HSBC right now. So if you are ready to apply, please do. And we hope to see you guys at the next session. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah,
Do you want to go over that, Craig?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you for everyone
Thank you
joining.
very
I've literally
much.
just popped it on the screen for you as well, Demi. So feel free to use the QR code if you want to link through. There's the open and close dates. Remember what I said? Don't pay full attention to the close dates because it could be sooner than that. So make sure you get on your bike, have a look at the options that we've already talked through in terms of practice zone, in terms of Candidate Hub, Forage virtual experiences, skills matcher, and then you'll be suitably prepared. Remember, Mohammed put in hours of work. Alice very little. I would say go with the Mohammed approach just to make absolutely sure. But thank you so much to the grads as well for joining us today from Sheffield. Absolutely amazing as usual. And thank you to all of you guys on the call. We wish you all the best of any future applications. Feel free to reach out to us. We will share the slides with you after the call as well. But thank you to Demi and Antoine and Beyond Education as well. Absolute pleasure to be here today.
Fantastic.
Thank
Thanks so
you, and
much.
see you guys
Everybody
next
enjoy your
time.
evenings.
You too.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
See you guys.